We never hunt in these woods. Never. Even if it means the whole village starves. That slight sense of trepidation you feel when leaving the domain of the open sky to venture into the woods. Maybe it's the sheer abundance of trees, making it impossible to see clearly in any one direction. Maybe it's the dense roof created by the many canopies entwining their leaves and branches so as to block out the sun on even the brightest day. Whatever it is, human civilizations always have stories and rhymes warning young children never to wander off alone, lest the forest eat you up. In the Northern Kingdoms, when your grandmother tells you to stay away from the woods, it is the single best piece of advice you could ever be given. For in these woods lurk creatures and spirits who wait eagerly for lost travelers. And in the forests, the greatest threat you could find is the Leshen. If you hear crows cawing, a murder darting through the tree line, and if you see a shadow forming in their wake, run, because you're its next victim. Hey guys, I'm Drew, and in the third installment of my Witcher lore and mythology series, I'm going to tell you a little more about one of the most ominous monsters in the Northern Kingdoms. The Leshens are steeped in folklore, for these spirits do not act as predictably as most bloodthirsty beasts. And when humans don't understand something, they come up with tall tales and superstitions. Let's delve into these mysterious beings, and by looking at the lore of the universe and real-world mythology, maybe we can get to the bottom of what these things really are. If you are somehow able to get close enough to inspect a Leshen properly, you'll notice that their form is more a mimicry of an anatomy, rather than something biological. And by that I mean, Leshens look like bipedal creatures, somewhat resembling a deer with a humanoid body, but in reality, the body is more like an avatar built from materials found in the forests. The head is the remains of a deer skull, likely plucked from a festering carcass, and the rest of the body appears to be built from dead wood and snapped branches, with gnarled claws carved from the wood. Draped over the form, most likely as a means to give it more human qualities, are messy swaths of animal hide. The hide, as well as the joints of the Leshen's body, appear to be secured by rope. It is pretty clear to anyone within appraising distance that a Leshen is built rather than grown. It would seem to me that the Leshen is crafted from the forest by the spirit that inhabits it, and this spirit has a link to everything else within the forest's ecosystem. Establishing links is a trademark of the Leshens, and is a recurring theme when looking deeper into how to find and defeat them. But I'll talk more about where to find one soon. That is, of course, if you are foolish and gallant enough to seek one out in the first place. Either way, the presence of a Leshen within a forest can incite unusual behaviour from the other creatures residing there. A Leshen can call for aid from crows and wolves, dragging them away from their hunts to fight on the spirit's behalf. With the influence of a Leshen, these animals will give their lives for a cause they know nothing about. Aside from a Leshen's connection to all things in the forest's ecosystem, it appears that, in order to live and maintain control over a wooded area, a Leshen must choose a link or familiar, and if sightings and documented stories are to be believed, these familiars must be sapient mortals from villages neighbouring the Leshen's domain. Many have speculated why a forest spirit would have any need for a human connection. After all, humans are not woodland creatures, but a commonly accepted theory is that a Leshen acts as a representative for the forest as a whole, a guardian designed to encompass the collective interests of all that live within. Therefore, when human ambition grows exponentially, and the natural landscape is forced to give way to cities, infrastructure, and unnatural creations, the wrath of the forest germinated in response. Human evolution meant deforestation, for example, and while no individual being within the woodland ecosystem could defeat a horde of men with swords, maybe a communal guardian could. Maybe it could instill a fear and reverence into the hearts of the superstitious mortals, and thus a Leshen is born. Of course, this is all conjecture, but the behaviours of the Leshen and their kinship with the creatures of the forest seems to point to this reality. The bestiary entry for the Leshen describes them as fiercely territorial too, which aligns well with the theory, and records taken by men who survived encounters with the beasts even say that they burrow their arms into the ground, commanding the roots to strike up from beneath the soil. If the roots of the trees buried underground are the forest's network, then the Leshen has complete access to the system, allowing it to bend the will of the plants themselves. Okay, so we know what a Leshen looks like, and we even have some understanding of what to expect from them, and how not to piss them off too badly. But when one rears its head in a wooded area close to human civilization, what can be done about it? Well, opinion gets divided here. Some folk, usually the more trusting superstitious types, see the presence of a Leshen as a blessing. Yes, this horrifying creature, a blessing. These people believe that the forest is like another village, and the Leshen is merely the forest's ambassador. If the humans respect the forest, not hunting within the Leshen's land and not meddling with its ecosystem, the Leshen will in turn offer protection and good fortune in health and prosperity. When the Leshen claims a victim, as it is wont to do, these people will claim it is the shortcomings of the humans and the murder is a punishment. Other men are not so susceptible to superstition and view a Leshen as nothing more than a dangerous pest to be blighted eliminated from existence. Should you choose to purge your local forest of a Leshen, your best first step is to seek out the marked individual. Earlier I mentioned the Leshen's affinity for links and connections. Well, these links can span beyond the reaches of the tree line. When a Leshen is born to protect the forest from a nearby human settlement, it will usually mark a member of the village, like a parasite feeding off of an external life force. The Leshen will be invincible in an endless cycle of rebirth as long as this host or marked one remains alive or within the village. Death will work, but exile is just as effective. Once the marked one is out of the equation, the Leshen becomes killable, and while that is a bonus, don't go thinking it'll make the thing easy to kill. With or without the marked one, underestimating this ancient monster will end in a bloody, painful demise. Next, seek out the Leshen's warding totems. These totems, small markers fashioned from branch and bone, must be destroyed before the spirit will show itself. With the totems gone, it's only a matter of moments before the crows swoop, their screams heralding the arrival of the Leshen. Should you find yourself squaring off against the Leshen, think on what weapon works best against the forest. Make sure you are armed to the teeth with flammables. Fire is the best way to banish the woodland spirit from its avatar. Just don't use steel, for these creations were born as a response to humanity and are resistant to their forged weapons. The Leshen can be linked to real-world mythology in a number of ways. The most notable similarity derives from the Leshi. In Slavic mythology, the Leshi is a tutelary deity, or an immortal guardian of the woods. The Slavic term for forest is actually Las, spelled L-A-S, and Leshi comes from there. Historically, Slavs have a great respect for nature, and a Leshi acted as a personification of this reverence. The Leshi never left the forest, but also disliked when intruders entered its dominion. Interestingly, similar to the Witcher universe, there are lots of uncanny superstitions associated with the Leshi. If a wanderer in the forest spots a Leshi, it means they have lost their way. In order to regain the correct trail, they must turn their clothing inside out. This bizarre ritual somehow makes sense, at least in my mind, as we are dealing with a forest spirit. Is it really there in the tangible world, or is it nothing more than a mirage to the lost traveler, haunting the real world from its place in the ethereal? Turning your clothes inside out seems like a pagan ritual to allow the human to disconnect from the Leshi's spirit world in order to restore their link to reality. If you stumble across a man in the forest with his clothes inside out, you best not dismiss him as a loon, for he may be the bravest soul you'll ever encounter. Instead, wish him luck, for the Leshi will kill swiftly and call upon its crows to feast on the carrion. And that is the story of the Leshens, the forest spirits that instill a true sense of fear and hesitation into superstitious mortals. If you look into the dark depths of the forest and your mind plays tricks on you, seeing movements where there were none, or hearing ominous sounds which resonate through the trees, maybe you are imagining things, but maybe, just maybe, it is a Leshen stalking its next victim. I hope you enjoyed this exploration into one of the more mysterious creatures in the Witcher universe. If you did, leave a like, and if you've just chanced upon the channel, consider subscribing and sticking around for more content just like this. Thank you for watching everyone, my name is Drew, and I'll see you next time.